Hey everybody, this is Heartless Spartan with another 1/18th scale Toy Talk review. Today I have the Joy Toy World War II Wermacht action figure. This one is another army builder soldier. Again, I am happy to be getting World War II figures in this scale, and I have hopes that Joy Toy will release more going forward. Before we get into the review, a quick disclaimer. In the montage, I will be using a Jianghu Warhorse figure that's also made by Joy Toy that is still available. However, there is also an SDK F2 German half-track that's around 20 years old that hasn't been in production for a very long time. Though I absolutely want Joy Toy to make some World War II vehicles for their action figure line. Let's get into the review. Alright, so we're going to take a look at our German soldier. Now, I've only really noticed very few quality control issues with any of these Joy Toy German figures. Really, what I've noticed have really only been mispaints. Like, if I take a quick look at this one, just kind of an oddity. His boot was kind of painted the same color as his leg. And then other than that, it comes down to these little pieces of equipment and stuff on his belt. And what happens is the little buttons that plug into the belt, those kind of pop out and the equipment piece falls off, and then it's kind of hard to pop it back in or even to like kind of glue that back in. And then the straps on the helmets, those can pop off when you're trying to take the helmet, put the helmet on or take it off. And then that might have to be glued back in because it does not kind of go in on its own. Let's actually take a look at the detail on our German soldier figure. I like the head sculpt on this one. That's pretty good. Let's see, can I zoom in? There we go. So that's pretty cool. And I like all of the equipment and everything they added on there. It's all pretty well painted for the scale. Even the little badge he has up on his shirt looks really good. Pretty well sculpted. And I like that a lot of these parts are like separate parts. They have a fair amount of detail on them. And they're kind of like, they're somewhat loose, so it seems like they kind of bounce around. Which I kind of like that. It makes it seem a little bit more realistic. So I wonder, can he actually pull out his knife, or is it molded in there? Oh, that's cool. So the knife actually does come out. I hadn't noticed that until now. That's pretty cool. And I think, what is this, a mess kit? The mess kit can also just be taken on and off. So that's removable. I mean, most of the stuff is technically removable, but you sort of have to, like his webbing and his belt, you kind of have to break that in order to remove it. And then you'd have to glue it back on. Then basic black boots with a little bit of wrinkling in there. I mean, it's a pretty good looking figure for what it is. I really like these. Now, posability. You get good head movement. Arms. Elbows. Wrist joints. Same on the other side. Now, the legs get limited by his uniform a little bit. But I mean, I am able to get these onto the Joy Toy horses as well. So we can get some pretty good posability on the legs even. And I think they turn a little bit too. Now, something about these, I have done this several times. I've kind of popped the legs out over articulating them. It's just a little peg on the inside, a ball jointed peg, and they usually do pop back on pretty easily. Now, he also comes with a helmet. Now, these straps can be kind of finicky. They're just kind of like glued into little slots on the inside of the helmet. So those pull out kind of easy, and then they kind of have to re-glued back in. It's not too difficult to get his helmet on. Yeah, that one went on nice and easy. Like that there's a little bit of wear detail added to his helmet there too. Now, I do like that they include 2 weapons with this figure. Comes with an MP40. Some nice paint variation on there. It's not just like an all-black weapon. I like that they painted the barrel and the magazine. I have not had issues with these straps on the MP40s, but I did on the rifle. Now, the stock can be switched. I think it goes under. There we go. It's like kind of a closed position. And then when it comes to actually posing these with their weapons in their hands, it can get kind of frustrating, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but you have to spend a little bit of time actually putting their weapons in their hand, especially if you want to pose them aiming it. It gets a little weird because then the equipment gets in the way and you have to bend the wrists a certain way that looks a little funny just to get them aiming the way you want. So that can take a little while. And his rifle, it's Car 98. I kind of wish that they didn't come with the scopes on them or like made them optional. I suppose you could always just kind of trim those off if you really wanted to, just to have like the standard rifle. And then maybe like paint over the top. But on these little straps kind of pop out, and then they'd have to be re-glued back in. He tends to hold his rifle okay. It's hard to get his finger over the trigger though, especially if you want the stock kind of in his shoulder or against his shoulder. But that takes a little bit of time to pose as well. And of course, I just recently discovered that his knife is removable. Good luck fitting that in his hands, though. Alright. However, he does, just as a heads up, like, a lot of this stuff is made of, like, a malleable rubber, so it's not going to snap apart. But it is going to bend. Now, he does come with additional hands. He has some closed fists here. Another trigger hand. This one seems maybe a little bit tighter than the one that's currently on his arm there, so maybe he can actually hold and grip the MP40 a little bit better, along with a semi-closed hand. I think they'd be good for the MP40. Yeah, I'm sure that will grip that much better than the hands that are currently on there. I wonder if I can get the knife in this. Okay, yeah, so this hand will hold the knife. Although the problem is, just realized that this is also another right hand, so that can't be used for that. That's too bad. I think they should have included a left hand like that as well, instead of maybe like a closed fist. But at least we do have a hand that can get him to hold the knife, which is pretty good. Now, he also comes with a stand, which plugs pretty easily into his foot, though I think it is kind of raised a little bit. On this one, they're kind of shallow holes on the bottom. So that'll stand up fairly well. It just doesn't look as great because the holes are just a little bit too shallow. Now, one more thing I want to do for comparison before moving on is a comparison of scale. If I grab a Vintage Collection Stormtrooper and stand him next to there, we have a nice little scale comparison. But I'm very happy with these German soldiers. They look awesome. I mean, I'm army building with these things, and I'd love to see more World War II figures come from Joy Toy. So let's go ahead and move on to a montage. The Wermacht Soldier has great articulation and a good amount of detail for the scale of figure that it is. The materials it's made of and the separate parts give it a good look and feel when handling and posing the figure. I like that it came with alternative hands and weapons, though I would have liked to have a better gripping left hand. The weapons look great, I just wish the scope was optional on the Kar 98, but not a big deal. The only issues I've had with the figures have been mispaints and some of the equipment straps and plugs coming undone. I then have to glue them back into place as best I can. It hasn't happened often, but it can be frustrating when it does. Overall, I think it's a great figure that works well for army building, which I've happily done. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. What kinds of World War II troops would you like to see Joy Toy make? I would really like to see Joy Toy go further with their World War II line and maybe even produce some vehicles. It would be nice if they could also reissue some of their older sets they've released in the past as well. This has been Heartless Spartan. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.